Hello students, welcome back to my channel Edu Knowledge Hub. This is Soumya Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmaceutics, Bengal School of Technology. And today I have taken the subject that is Parkinsonism. I have taken this particular topic from the subject of hospital and clinical pharmacy. Here I will be dealing with the pathophysiology and the management of Parkinsonism. And this video may be helpful for the B Pharm and the PharmD students who want to know about the disease that is the Parkinsonism. Now, before starting, before discussing about the Parkinsonism disease, we need to understand that how you can say that a person is suffering from the Parkinsonism. Now, this disease it is generally it occurs when a person has the symptoms like the brain dysfunction or associated with the Parkinson's disease, and there are some other related symptoms like neurological symptoms or dementia or inability to look up and down. There is a tremor, slow movement, impaired speech, or sometimes the muscle stiffness. Now, this disease Parkinsonism it is basically related to the neurological disorder. So we know that neurons are the basic units of the our neurological system. So we need to study that what is a neuron. Now when you see, I have kept a picture of a neuron here. When you see that neuron has many parts, basically we are concerned with the synapse. The neuron starts with the dendrite, and it is having a nucleus and a cell body also. There is an axon which is the neck of the neuron, which is followed by the myelin sheath, the node of Ranvier, and lastly we have the axon terminal, and finally we have the synapse. So in case of Parkinsonism disease, we are basically targeting, or the disease it occurs at the synapse region. Now, what is this synapse? Now, if you concentrate about the dopamine, now dopamine is basically a neurotransmitter that transmits the chemical messages from one nerve cell to the another nerve cell. Now, if you talk about the transmission of the messages, like any mosquito is biting, or you are observing something, so there is a transmission of the impulse that happens in between your neurons. Now, when you talk about the transmission between the two neurons, the neuron which is transmitting is called as a presynaptic cell, and the neuron which is accepting is called as a postsynaptic cell. Now I have kept a figure here. You can see the yellow color represents the presynaptic terminal or the presynaptic cell, and the purple color represents the postsynaptic terminal, the postsynaptic cells. Now what happens is the chemical messages is transferred from one nerve cell to the another nerve cell by the help of a synapse, or you can say by the position that is called as a synapse. Synapse is nothing but it is a small gap in between the two cells, that is the presynaptic and the postsynaptic cells. And this transmission of chemical messages it is helped by, or it is undertaken by some neurotransmitter, and dopamine is a neurotransmitter which helps in the chemical transmission of the chemical messages. Basically this dopamine is secreted into the synapse by the membrane storage vesicle. There are some vesicles which are secreted, which are present in the presynaptic terminal, which secretes this dopamine, and this dopamine it crosses the synapse and it binds to the postsynaptic membrane, so that there is a transmission of a chemical message. And during this process, if there is any unused dopamine, then this unused dopamine it is again absorbed into the presynaptic terminal for the further use or for the next transmission. Now within the synapse, as the dopamine it travels from one cell to the another cell, it can be broken down by the two enzymes. Basically one is called as a monoamine oxidase, in short we call as the MAO, and the next is the catechol O methyl transferase, in short we call as a COMT. Now these two enzymes are responsible for breaking down this dopamine while it is transferring from one cell to the, or one synapse to the other synapse. Now in case in the Parkinsonism disease or the Parkinson's disease, what happens is the loss of dopamine is a elevated rate as compared to the normal persons, and it has been studied with the imaging like your MRI or any kind of other imaging studies, that there is a continuous loss of the dopamine or increased loss of the dopamine which results in this disorder. Now this dopamine loss is not felt at the starting stage, but gradually when you start developing some motor symptoms like tremors or like loss of the speech or inability to look up or down, then you go for the imaging study, then you can find that there is a significant loss of the dopamine. Now, when you talk about the Parkinson's disease, this Parkinson disease is basically the dysfunction and the cell death of the portion of the brain that produces the dopamine. That means if the portion of the brain which produces the dopamine, it dies off or it is not functioning properly, then we refer this disorder as the Parkinson's disease. And this Parkinson disease is an accelerated version of the cell death. Generally, in the normal aging process, what happens is the cell death, it occurs, let it be in the brain or in muscular death also. So in case of the normal aging process, the cell death happens, but when a person suffers from the Parkinson disease, the cell death is at elevated rate, or you can say the accelerated version. As the severity increases, there is a depletion of the dopamine, which further leads to different changes, like changes in the basal ganglia pathways, including altered functions of the other basal ganglion neurotransmitter such as glutamate, GABA or the serotonin. That means when there is a death of the cells which secretes the dopamine, it gradually leads to the other cell deaths also, other cell malfunctioning also. Now, how can you say that a person suffers from the Parkinson's disease? There are four symptoms, which is the basic symptoms to understand a person suffering from Parkinson's disease. First is a tremor. Generally, this tremor can be seen with the auxiliary body parts like your hands and the legs, basically the hands only. Next is the diminished substantia nigra, and next is the in taking the dopamine or excess amount of the dopamine, and last is the neuron which is affected by the Parkinson's. Now these are the basic you can see things, or you can say basic symptoms for the early diagnosis of the dopamine, or for the early diagnosis of a depletion of the dopamine. Now I have kept a graph here. You can see that this green line, it indicates the normal aging process, the blue line, it indicates the IPD, and this yellow line, it indicates the genetic factors, and the red line, it indicates the early onset of the Parkinson's disease. Now you see that in case of normal aging, there is, the graph is a straight line, or you can say it is not a slanting graph, so that the normal aging process happens and there is a depletion of these cells at a very slower rate. But when you consider this thing with the other three situations, like it can be induced Parkinson disease, or the environmental factors Parkinson disease, or the early onset of the Parkinson disease, the depletion occurs at a very high rate, and this refers to the disease called as the Parkinson's disease. Now, coming to the symptoms of the Parkinson disease, as I have told you, like the stooped posture is there, that means the person will standing, there is a bend of the shoulders, there is a change in the facial expression, rigidity of the bones or rigidity of the muscles, forward tilt of the trunk, that means the trunk, the body, the shoulders will be tilting outside or the in front, the elbow will be flexed and the wrist will be flexed, and there is a reduced arm swinging, that means the arms, they will be not swinging at a normal rate as compared to the normal healthy persons. Now along with this, there can be some other symptoms, like there can be some problems with the autonomic nervous system or problems in balancing of the person, and this rapid onset and progression of the symptoms will lead to the Parkinson's disease. Now when we talk about the other causes of the Parkinsonism, so before studying the other causes, I want to make it very clear that not everyone who has Parkinsonism has the Parkinson's disease. That means the person who is having depleted amount of dopamine, he is suffering from the Parkinson's disease. But there can be some other reasons also which related to the Parkinsonism. That means every person who has Parkinsonism is not having the Parkinson's disease. Both are the different classification. Parkinson's disease is related to the depletion of the dopamine, all malfunctioning of the dopamine producing cells. But Parkinsonism has other factors also, or other causes also. The second cause of the Parkinsonism will be the corticobasal degeneration. Now in this condition, generally dementia is caused, and it affects the uh, movements usually on the one side. The person may also be unable to make controlled muscle movements, that means tremors which is uncontrolled. Next is dementia with Lewy bodies. Now this condition causes changes in overall alertness as well as a visual hallucination. That means the person is unable to see, or he predicts that there is some things which is going around him which is not in the real case. Next is multiple system atrophy. Now this condition affects the coordination and the autonomic dysfunction, including the bowel movement and the bladder incontinence, like uncontrolled passing of the urine or uncontrolled passing of the bowel. Next is the progressive supranuclear palsy. Now this condition causes dementia, frequent backward falls, like the person falls backwards, and problem moving the eyes up and down in addition to the Parkinson's disease symptoms. Next is some of the medications like which is used in the treatment of the psychosis or psychiatric disorders. These can also lead to the Parkinsonism. Repeated head trauma, like repeated injury of the head. Next is the exposure to toxin. Some toxin substances like carbon monoxide or cyanide and organic solvent, they can also lead to the Parkinsonisms. Next is the certain brain lesions like tumors or fluid buildup which is present or which gets into your brain can also lead to the Parkinsonism. And last one is the metabolic and other disorder, like there are some chronic disorders like liver failure or Wilson's disease which can also relate to the Parkinsonism. Now, how do you diagnose this Parkinsonism? The first line of diagnosis is talking to the person's health history and review his current symptoms, that whether he is having depletion of the dopamine or whether he is having some other causes which I have told you in the previous slide. After that, you can go for the collecting of the medication history, that whether the person was taking any kind of the psychiatric treatment or psychotic drugs. Next, you can go for the blood testing to see that there are some potential causes like thyroid or liver problems. You can go for the imaging scans to examine the brain and the body for other causes like tumor in the brain or any kind of fluid buildup in the brain. After that, you can go for the DAT-SPECT test. Now this DAT-SPECT test, in this the dopamine transporter, the single photo emission computed tomography, that is called as the DAT-SPECT, it might have the potential to act as a reference standard in detecting the nigrostriatal cells loss in the patients with the early stage of Parkinsonism. That means in the early stage when the person is suffering from Parkinsonism due to the Parkinson's disease, that means due to the depletion of the dopamine, this test will tell that whether there is a particular depletion of the dopamine or not. And this DAT scan is used to differentiate tremors and other motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease generally. That means if the Parkinsonism is happening due to the Parkinson's disease, this DAT-SPECT test can confirm you about the depletion of the dopamine. In this test, what we do is a radioactive agent is injected into the patient's bloodstream and it is tracked using the SPECT. That means a scanner, which is a non-invasive scanner that uses the radiation detector to image the cells that taken up the agent and emit the radioactivity. For example, if any cell has taken this radioactive agent which you have injected, then that will be reflected in this scanner. And this DAT scan, especially it marks the brain cells that carry the dopamine transporter. That means if the cells are healthy, if they are carrying the dopamine in the particular manner or in the sufficient quantity, then this DAT scan will be sufficiently showing you that these are the cells which are carrying the dopamine. The higher number of healthy cells have the transporter protein in it which shows the brighter image. So this agent, it binds to the protein which shows the brighter image here. In this way, the intensity of the brain images determines the health of the brain cells. Like more brighter the imaging, you can say the more healthier is the brain. Now, coming to the treatment of the Parkinsonism, the first line of treatment is the combination of the carbidopa levodopa. The most effective and the well tolerated drugs which is used by the medical profession nowadays, and it often helps with bradykinesia, that means the rigidity and the rest tremor also. It generally does not help with the imbalance or the falls. That means if a person is having the tendency to fall down or freezing or any kind of the non-motor symptom, then this drug is not going to help you out. Now, associated with different side effects like dyskinesia, like abnormal or involuntary movements or nausea or hallucination, confusion and the lightheadedness. This carbidopa levodopa is also having this type of side effects. Coming to the next drug, that is a Sinemet. Now, this drug can be given at the night to help the early morning symptoms generally. This is a prophylactic treatment generally which we do giving the medicine, this Sinemet, to the patients at the night, so that if they are having any early morning symptoms, that can be returned. Or it can be used instead of immediate release version to decrease the nausea, like extended release tablet or the sustained release tablet. Now there are some dopamine agonists like the pramipexole or propinerol or rotigotine. Now there is a good evidence to support that these medications, they work by themselves or in combination with the Sinemet. Like these has to be coupled with the Sinemet, and if they are used in the combination, it helps prolonging the effect of the Sinemet. Now there are some side effects which are associated with this dopamine agonist, like nausea or dizziness or swelling of the legs, generally the ankle portion, the sleeplessness or sleepiness, sorry, not sleeplessness, sleepiness or sleep attacks like taking a nap or worsening the cognition, hallucination, impulse control disorders. The next line of drugs is the apomorphine, which is mainly effective in the patients with the severe motor fluctuations. It can be helpful to get the patients going in the early morning or during off times, mainly given through the injectable formulations. Next is the MAOB inhibitors. Like as I told is this MAO is responsible for breaking down this dopamine. So we can use some MAO inhibitors so that it can stop the breaking down of the dopamine, like the selegiline or the rasagiline. These may have a mild symptomatic benefit early in the course of the Parkinson's disease. Uh, Try to understand that it is used in the Parkinson's disease, not mainly in the Parkinsonism. Next is the COMT inhibitor, another enzyme which breaks down the dopamine. So we can use some COMT inhibitors to reduce the breakage of the dopamine, like entacapone or tolcapone. Now these drugs decrease the wearing off in the advanced diseases. If the disease has advanced in the higher stages, so these drugs can be used. And the last drugs is the amantadine. Now this may have a modest effect or very mild effect on the motor symptoms in the early Parkinson's, but it is helpful for the treating of the dyskinesia. Now there can be some lifestyle changes, like you can suggest the patients to be physically active, like exercise regularly, have a daily talk. Then you can indulge the patients in talking to each other or maintaining good relationship with the people, so that the patient will be having some physical activity, or he will be having some open brain, so that he can discuss his problems with the doctors or any kind of the healthcare workers. Next is creating a safe environment, like considering modifying your environment, like install of the grab bars next to your toilets. Mainly this thing happens in the early morning, so you can install some grab bars, so that if a person or if a patient is getting the attack, he can grab the bars and he can prevent himself from falling down or any kind of the head injury. Now if you see, I have taken this from a particular journal. Now they have performed some population based studies in different states, and we see that mainly the Mumbai and the western India, the Kashmir, the northern India, the Karnataka and the southern India, and the Kolkata and the eastern region, they have compared these four regions to see that what are the prevalence of this disease. And we can see that the more prevalence is basically in case of the Mumbai and the western parts of the India. Now this is a particular thing which I have taken from a research journal, which states the prevalence of the Parkinsonism in throughout the India. Now these are the references which I have used, or from these references I have collected the material for this presentation. If you have any doubt, you can follow these references, and further if you have any doubt in this presentation, in this lecture, you can drop an email to my mail IDs mentioned here, or you can drop a comment in the comment section of this video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, that is Edu Knowledge Hub, for the further videos. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you. Bye bye.